Hey you guys, I just came to the greenhouse. I'm about to start some seeds and I thought this would be a perfect time for me to pick up where I left off with what I use to start seeds and kind of give a detailed explanation about that. And so that is what I'm going to do in this video. So this right here is actually just an old dog crate tray. It is so handy. I love how large it is. And it's perfect to start seeds on because it collects all of the soil and then I can just collect the soil from the tray and put that away. So I'm going to be using that. So if you were here for the last video, you saw me take this space from a complete disaster to what it should be. In this video, I really want to talk about what I have used and what I will continue to use going forward into this next growing season. I am wearing my mosquito suit in the greenhouse today, unfortunately, because our screen is compromised, and so the mosquitoes have found their way in here. So if I want to get things done, I gotta put on my mosquito suit, y'all. I love that so many of you guys have said that you have ordered you a mosquito suit too. If you got that mosquito suit, drop that down in the comments below because it's a game changer. When you want to be in the garden and you want to be productive, but you are fighting against those bloodsuckers, it just changes everything. So today my goal is actually to plant some sunflower seeds to go ahead and get those started. And so I'm going to be planting some in these trays right here. These is actually from Green Stock and they came out with this last season. It's very cute. I like how it's all together like this. The cell trays are pretty deep, which is nice. They do have those air pruning slits in them, which help so that the seedlings aren't root bound. I'd say the nice thing about these is that it comes as a kit. So it does not come with the humidity dome. I didn't get the humidity dome. Maybe they do have a kit that comes with it all together. But I do like that it has the seed starting trays and the bottom watering tray underneath it. I think that that is really cool, and it has a handle. I wouldn't typically start something that I was going to plant right away inside of these because they actually are pretty deep, and so you have a lot of room in the inside to let something grow versus some of the other trays that I'm going to talk about today and show you that I feel like are perfect for starting seeds, especially when you don't know what the germination rate is going to be. I think because these are so large, I'm actually going to use these for some pumpkin seeds. Because with the sunflowers, I pretty much just need them to sprout. I could direct sow them, but the squirrels eat them out of the ground. And so I just need the sunflowers to sprout. I don't need them to have all this room to grow. It would almost be a waste of soil. So after a couple years of just trying several different things, finally feel like I've landed on a setup that works really well for me. I want to say really quick that soil blocks have been great, and that's truly the most minimalistic type of seed starting option because you aren't using a container. So you're just making blocks out of soil. These seeds actually look like they got wet, so I'm just gonna pop them all in here so we can just see. So there's definitely pros and cons with everything, and it's no different with soil blocks. And if you would love to have that conversation, I am happy to have that conversation with you. So I'm actually going to start some of these tomato bush cherry. They're patio choice yellows. I know I want to plant these honey baby squash, so I'm going to plant those. And they promise germination, y'all. It's guaranteed. So let's put that to the test, shall we? So let's talk about these trays. I do have some new trays that I'm going to be using this year that I've never used before. And that is these 16 cell trays right here. I like these because it helps me to start small, especially when I'm checking germination rates or doing like a first round of seed. I love it because it's hollow. It's like 1 inch deep and it only takes a little bit of soil. And that makes it perfect for testing seeds before you commit to a bigger pot, which will need much more soil in them. I won't have enough of these to start all of the seeds that I want to start for the fall garden because I only have like 7 or 8 of them, but I'm hoping to order some more if I really like the way that they work. But honestly, these actually remind me of the super small soil blocks that I have disowned because it was tremendously hard to keep them moist. So I'm curious as to how demanding these are going to be as well. I also have some miscellaneous trays that help start seeds in bulk. And this one, for example, this is from Bootstrap Farmer and it has 200 little cell plugs. And so the thing about these and a huge mistake I know I made using these was not up potting them fast enough and then also letting them get leggy and root bound. So it's not my favorite when it comes to demand of me and also the health of the plant, but it's really amazing for planting bulk seeds like sunflowers because okay, so the next size up after these right here that I would pot this up to would be the 6 cell. So this 6 cell is 2 inches deep. And so it gives the seedlings a little more room to stretch out. And I have grown everything in these: herbs, brassicas, peppers, tomatoes, flowers. One of the things that I struggled to understand when it came to potting up or up potting was knowing when to do that when I first got started. Like I didn't really understand how to know when I was supposed to pot up, if that makes sense. A lot of the information I came across said to do it when the plant had its first set of true leaves. But as a beginner, I didn't know what the first set of true leaves was. Like I didn't know what that was. So with that being said, my plan is to be more mindful of this process for the upcoming season so that I can give a visual of what that looks like for those of you who don't know what that means, because I didn't know what that meant, and I think that's more common than we think. We kind of come into it and we hear all these different types of terms and, it's kind of like you're supposed to know stuff that you don't really know, and so my heart is definitely for that beginner gardener who is just kind of trying to figure it out, who just wants to know, like, how do I begin and be successful? Like, what is it that I need to know? Because there's so much information out there. I also have these little 2-inch pots. I think they are 2 or 2.5 inch pots, but deep wise, they are 3 inches deep. So they are more deep than these. And, obviously they are bigger. These are also a really good one to up pot whenever I'm coming from the 6 cell. I can up pot to this and it works really good as far as the transition. And this one is a little bit more shallow than this one. So if I'm trying to save on soil and I have a lot of seedlings, I will like probably go to this one right here because I can use less soil. Up next, when it comes to the Epic cell trays, is going to be the 4. They have a 4 cell right there, little 4 little cubes. And these are really, really good for like tomatoes, cucumbers, melons, marigolds. They're really great because they are 3 to 4 inches deep. So they're giving lots of space for those roots to spread out. So you may wonder, just like I did, if you're a beginner gardener, like what is even the purpose of potting up? Like, why not just start big from the very beginning? There are 2 reasons that I could think of, and that's soil and space. And so it takes a lot more soil to fill up a big container. And then if you plant one seed in it, and what if that seed doesn't germinate? If it doesn't germinate, you use a lot of your soil and you want to try to utilize your resources the best possible. And soil is definitely one of those things that I find to be one of the more expensive things when it comes to gardening. Because like we talked about, you don't even need a tray, but you need soil. I mean, unless you are not using soil at all, but that's not what we're talking about. But when it comes to containers, those are the 2 things that I would say are the reasons why not to start bigger at the beginning. And also let's talk about space. So say I used what is this? This is a 3.5 inch pot that I got from Amazon. Say I use this pot to start my tomatoes in, and I'm not talking about bulk because I like to start my tomatoes in here like with generously and then have a whole bunch and then separate them because they are tough, man. They don't have any problems with their roots being disturbed. But say I was going to use this pot right here and plant 1 tomato in here from the very beginning. I'm not going to be able to plant as many tomatoes because only so many of these pots are going to fit on that tray. You get what I'm saying? But if you start small and you start with, say, the smaller trays, you're going to be able to fit, even if you do this one, which I've done. This is, like I said, I just got those even smaller ones. But, 6 on this tray right here, even if I just did 1, right? And that's like 4. So this pot right here equals like 4 of these, you see, and then it's much deeper. So you're using a lot of soil and you're taking up way more space than you need to just begin starting a seed. I hope that makes sense. But speaking of these 3.5 inch pots, and when I say 3.5, I'm talking about like the square size, not the depth, even though this is about 3.5 inches deep as well. But the cool thing about these containers that I bought from Amazon is that they actually fit in a tray that I got from Walmart. And I love that. I love when we get those free trays. And something else that I have actually is benefits from that tray. So the tray from Walmart, because I have my miscellaneous trays down here. I actually have this tray right here from Walmart, and my Amazon containers fit like perfectly in this. I think this tray came with like, I don't know if it was rosemary or something in their longer trays, longer containers that they have. Even if you just have a few, it is nice to have the tray to carry it in. if you know what I mean. It's nice to have the tray. And so I will keep that tray, although a lot of miscellaneous trays I threw away. I'll keep that one because it actually has a use for these containers. Okay, let's talk about the next one. Up potting from this right here to the 5-inch cube would be the next step up. It would be the next step up from this one. And this is what they look like. And I think I only have like 6 of these. So I don't really have a lot of these 5-inch trays, but what they would be good for would be like having a tomato. A tomato can grow really good in here. A marigold, a pepper, they can grow really, really good in here. But I also want to show you guys the ones that I got from Walmart that are like, I'm not sure the size, but this is the size difference. Like the bottom is this, like the same, but this is much taller. So I have an inch or so, maybe 1.5 inches of space, more space in here. So this is going to take more soil though. So do remember that, because I remember when I was filling these up, I was like, oh my goodness, this thing is like a never ending hole for soil. And tomato, I got these for tomatoes actually, but I didn't really use them. I did plant some horseradish in here. The difference is a big difference as far as like, you know, this is probably not gonna last me very long. It's very thin, but it was beneficial, and I needed something to hold me over. It's a big difference though. Like this is solid, like a tray, and this is, you know, like this, but this is still useful. And although I didn't use them, I have them and I would use them. I definitely would. So I guess that's a 5-inch pot too. It's just probably, instead of being, let's see, 5 inches deep, that's probably like 6.5 or 7 inches deep. Okay, so now let's talk about bottom trays. These are called universal bottom trays, and y'all, let me just say, these are the strongest trays that I've ever experienced. They're also called 1020 trays, and you'll see that term used all around when you're looking up trays. And I absolutely love this tray. Like, honestly, I would use anything. I would start my seeds. If I had to choose between if I could get this or if I could have like a really sturdy tray, y'all, I would pick the tray, because I can't tell you how sad it is when you have your seedlings on a tray and it's flimsy and you are multitasking, doing a lot of work, and that thing breaks on you and your babies fall to the ground. Y'all, that's not cool. But these are so sturdy. And so I have these 1020 trays they're also made by American Tray Company, which is Epic Gardener. I also have the other ones. These are the ones that I purchased, I believe, from Walmart. And so this is the difference as far as the depth of the trays. You can see this one is really deep and this one is more shallow. And for me, I prefer the more shallow tray. And there's a couple reasons. So let's first talk about when it comes to soil blocks. So I've used soil blocks in both of these trays, and the soil blocks, bottom water them. When I put my soil block in here, you know, the soil block is, well, I like the 2x2 inch tray soil blocks. And so they're thick. I cannot really see how much water I'm putting at the bottom, because the thing with soil block, you don't want to put too much water because you don't want your block to fall apart, but you need enough water. And that is a whole thing that you just have to kind of like play with. And like I said, if you got questions about soil blocks, I would be happy to let you know and have that conversation with you from my experience. But with this one right here, the lip, because it does have that shallow lip like that, when I put my soil block that's going to sit up right here, I can actually see so much better how much water that I'm putting inside of this tray, because
first of all, it'll overflow because this lip is about 1.5 inches. So it'll overflow if I go past that. This holds 25 pounds and I was always able to hold it with one hand. One hand, like it is firm and steady. It is a nice steady tray. And I would have a whole row of these trays right here. And I'm hoping to continue to build like my stack as far as that goes. And I want to phase these out. The reason why I have these is because I needed them. Like I needed more trays for the spring season. I planted way more seeds than I knew I was going to plant. And so I didn't have all of my good materials. I was scrounging, y'all, looking for trays like these. I was looking for something that I could plant something in because I was just like, I was using styrofoam cups, if y'all remember. This tray right here fits 12 of the 6 cell trays, or it can fit 8 of the 4 cell trays, or 8 pots, because this is pretty much the same. You see how this is the same? It's the same size pretty much as the 4 cell tray in the 5-inch pot. So 8 of those can fit on a 1020 tray. So that's just a little bit about that. Everything just kind of nestles together, which makes me feel really happy. It makes me feel way more organized. And I know that it sounds like a lot when you're just trying to think about like what all you need and like up potting. But when you do it in stages, it really keeps your seedlings healthy and it helps you out with your timing because you can plan. These came from Amazon and were given to me by a friend because I ran out of trays. I literally ran out of trays. And these are the ones that I didn't use last year. I have been asked by some people who are local if I'm willing to have some baby starts for the fall garden. And I'm thinking about it. Since I have all these trays, I feel like this would be perfect to use and do like some 6-packs of fall veggies for people. And so, but once I'm done with that, I'm not actually going to use that for like my personal seed starting kit or seed starting setup. But, you know, if that goes well, that may be something that I would consider doing. I'll see. I'm going to see how this fall goes. I mean, because that is obviously a good way. If people are going to go buy cabbage anyway, and I can start it from seed, why not, you know, why not do it? And then it's taken care of organically, grown with love, all the things, which is a market in itself. I love to know that somebody took the time to take care of my little baby seedling and it wasn't just, you know, somewhere being neglected. I honestly think that that plays a big part in how the food grows and how it tastes. So anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on my system. I would love to hear what you do. What is your tried and true? I know some of you guys are so creative that you said that you've made like plant tags out of like old yogurt containers and all those type of things. And I just think that's the coolest thing. That's so cool. And it proves that we don't need all of this stuff to garden. I don't want you to believe that you do. That is not what this is about. This is simply me telling you what I have found that works. And so that's why I invested in this material right here, because I'm going to be in the garden. Like I'm going to be doing this and I'm trying to get out of like having to continue to buy new things every single year. You know, these Amazon containers are hanging in there. I really do like these. And like I said, I will link everything down below. I really do like these and I hope that these really last. But if it comes to a place where I'm going to then like sell seedlings, I would totally use these because this is a lot more firm than say like the plastic that this 6-pack is made out of. And so I would totally, that's what I was going to say really, really quickly. Soil blocks. Whenever I had soil blocks, and it seemed like it needed more soil, like the plant was just getting big and it needed more, I could pop my soil block inside of this tray right here, inside of this cube. I could pop it in there and top it off with soil. And this was perfect because you never know. And then if you have to transport it, it was a lot easier to transport this than to try to take soil blocks to give away to friends or whoever was needing some type of plant start. I hope that makes sense. I know one of you guys did reach out and you wanted to know what medium I used. And so I wanted to just mention this Pro Mix right here. I love the Pro Mix in the red bag, and that's the one that I was getting. The only reason why I really switched to this was because it ended up being $1 cheaper, which is the craziest thing because this one is organic and the red bag is just not organic. So, but it has lots of really great things in it. If you look at the back in the list, it has things in there that I love. So for seed starting, I am just using this by itself. But whenever I use this for making soil blocks, which this is my favorite way to make soil blocks, is using the Pro Mix. I mix it with worm castings as well as vermiculite. The vermiculite just helps hold in that moisture. If you don't know, because you're a beginner gardener, worm castings is just worm poop. So yeah, all things poop, especially when it's worm poop and rabbit poop, y'all. So I'm actually drinking some peppermint and green tea mixed herbals. So good. It's so very good. I know you noticed the change. So yesterday at some point my battery went dead, and so it was already kind of getting late and I had a couple things to do, and so I just came out here this morning to finish this up, and that's why I have a little different display on my hands just in case you caught that, like, wait, what's happening? And then also this morning, y'all, there are no mosquitoes in here, which is so amazing. It's actually about 72 degrees this morning, which is amazing. I got up at 6:30, you know, it's light out here, and I really want to try to get out here. And I say try, I'm trying to get out of that. Like, I need to try to do this. Instead of saying, I need to try to do this, I want it to be, I'm going to do this. Because when we put that try in there, I think it automatically, I won't speak for everybody, but when I put that try in there, I feel like I've making my excuses, like kind of like loading them. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm loading up my excuses not to do something when I say, oh, but I'll try. Some things, you know, you can't, but some things, if you're trying to make it a part of your lifestyle, it's not like I'm going to try to do this. It's like, that's what I'm going to do. And that doesn't mean that we don't mess up or we don't slip up or we don't sleep in, but that means that we are being intentional about the people that we want to become and the habits that we want to form. It's intentional. And so it's about a mindset. You get what I'm saying? Yes. And so I am going to start waking up earlier, y'all. I'm going to start getting up earlier so that I can get more things done before I head off to work. I think that this is such a beautiful morning. And I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous, y'all. This view right here, that sun is just tipping over there. It is so beautiful. Okay, so I'm about to go ahead and sow a good bit of these sunflower seeds. So right now we actually have about 115 days until our first frost. And so I think it's kind of perfect for these sunflowers because, for example, these mammoth sunflowers, they actually take 75 to 90 days. So even if it takes 90 days to bloom, I'm still within my window. And y'all know that sunflowers only last a hot minute. And so they would be able to bloom and we'd be able to enjoy them. They probably wouldn't be able to produce seeds. I don't know. It depends if it's on that far end of, you know, the blooming period. But if it only takes 75 days, it would definitely be able to get some seeds forming. But very, very cool. These Autumn Beauty, these take 70 to 80 days to come to maturity. These Earthquakers, or what is it, Earthwalkers, they actually take, it does not say on the back of that how long that takes. And these are dwarf. Even though these are dwarf, y'all, it still takes 90 days. So that's interesting. I'm excited about seeing these sunflowers welcome the fall. Y'all, welcome the fall. I think a lot of this
when it comes to gardening is me thinking about having an experience in the garden. And that's why I kind of choose where I want to plant things, because I think about like what I want to see. Like as I'm looking out this window, to me, that is absolutely beautiful. It's such a beautiful view to sit here and plant seeds and look at all of those arches and that beautiful corn that's growing in the middle and all of those beautiful flowers. Like it's so beautiful. And I wanted to see that. And not only this way, but also when I look out the window on the opposite side, I'm looking into the arches and I can see some loofah over there growing, some asparagus long beans. I see some zinnias blooming, y'all. We have our pears and they're growing. I can see the beautiful blooms of our sweet potato vines growing. Like it's just a beautiful view. It really is. And then in the back, it's covered by tomato plants. And so I'm just surrounded and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's so nice. Please let me know if you have any questions down below in the comment section. I would just love to hear from you. I always love to hear from you. I appreciate you guys so very much. Until next time, friends.